What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Man, I got to tell you, man, I did not think Gennady Golovkin would be going this hard over the subject of performance-enhancing drugs with Canelo Alvarez. Because, you know, Canelo Alvarez tested positive for Albuterol. But then Boxing Scene came out with an article that said Gennady Golovkin wants answers. What did Canelo inject into his belly? What? So this is extended from him having been tested positive for Albuterol to people having accused him and showing pictures of Canelo Alvarez with injection marks. I guess if it was on some, other type of injections, they call it track marks on his stomach. So before I get into that, definitely going to have another live stream tonight before the Smoke City Mobcast. Hopefully before the Smoke City Mobcast, because, I don't kind of program that. And the best way to know that we're going to have, to know when the live stream is to hit the bell icon. If you hit the bell icon, then you'll get notified of the live stream. And then you and I, we can have a direct, real-time interchanges on this subject and other subject as well. So with that said, and once again, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can get the notification for the live streams. Now, the title of the article is Golovkin Wants Answers. What did Canelo inject into his belly? IBF, IBO, WBA, and WBC middleweight champion Gennady Golovkin, 37-0-1 with 33 KOs, has decided to double down on his accusations that upcoming opponent Saul Canelo Alvarez, 39-1-2 with 34 KOs, is a longtime user of performance-enhancing drugs. Canelo tested positive for banned Albuterol in drug tests announced by the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA, on February 17th and February 20th. He has since tested negative in 3 sets conducted in March. Golovkin has been calm since the information of the positive test came out, but on Tuesday, the boxer erupted during a group interview with reporters at his training camp in Big Bear Lake, California. Golovkin rejected Canelo's claims that his positive tests were a direct result of ingesting contaminated meat, which is ongoing problem for athletes from Mexico, because farmers use the banned drug on cattle to increase lean muscle mass. Again with the meat, come on. Golovkin said, I told you it's not Mexican meat. This is Canelo. This is his team. This is his promotion. Canelo is cheating. They're using these drugs and everybody's just trying to pretend that it's not happening. This guy, he knows this is not his first day in boxing. He proves he gets the benefits from everyone and he can get away with it. Check him on a lie detector, then we can find out everything. Of course, Golovkin also stated that he knew Canelo was not a clean fighter before their first encounter last September. Golovkin obtained photographs and videos which the boxer claims revealed traces of injections on Canelo's body and also shows him taking an unknown pill. It was pretty obvious when Canelo's muscles were all enlarged, and with the traces of injections which were visible, Golovkin said, before the first fight, I knew he was not clean. I can talk about Oscar De La Hoya too. He's also not clean. He's dirty. When speaking later to ESPN, Golovkin once again stamped down on his accusations. I think it is silly to blame the meat because an athlete at his level should not be caught on the meat. I eat Mexican food all the time. I've never had that problem, Golovkin said. If nobody from the commission will cancel it, I will do my job. But this is a very hot topic about doping. What about his injection in his belly? What about the marks on his belly? Look at the photos. These questions should be asked of the commission. Golovkin's promoter, Tom Loeffler, also gave his take on the matter to ESPN. People were sending him videos and photos, and they said he should ask the commission, what about these photos and what these photos and videos are, Loeffler said. People are telling him to get to the commission to clarify what it was, but he doesn't think Canelo was smart. The two athletes are scheduled to collide for a second time on May 5th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So, those are pretty hot accusations from Gennady Golovkin. Well, the first is not hot. It's a recognition that Canelo Alvarez tested positive for clenbuterol. Clenbuterol. Forgive me for the mispronunciations. But I got to say, man, it's kind of falling on deaf ears here. Because if he really felt like that, pull out of the fight. What are you doing all that talking for? Pull out of the fight. He's not your mandatory. Gennady Golovkin does not have to fight Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is not the WBC mandatory. He's not the WBA mandatory. He's not the IBF mandatory. This is a voluntary defense. And if he doesn't want to take a fight against Canelo Alvarez, don't take the fight. Why would he put it on the commissions? If he really believes that Canelo Alvarez was getting shot up and he had pictures of him being shot up in his belly, he knew that Canelo Alvarez was dirty before the last fight, why'd he fight? Why'd he fight? And why is he fighting now? Deontay Wilder knew that Povetkin popped dirty. He didn't fight. He said, I'm not going to fight somebody that's been found guilty of taking or having performance-enhancing drugs in his system. He didn't fight Luis Ortiz. He gave Luis Ortiz another chance to pass the test after that first fight got canceled, but those fights were called off. If Gennady Golovkin knew the first time that Canelo tested positive, okay, you believed it rather. He believed the first time. He didn't know. He believed it. By the way that Canelo Alvarez's muscle mass was, whatever in the ring, whatever gym rumors he might have heard, all of those things, right, could have pointed to Canelo Alvarez being on performance-enhancing drugs. But this time, he knows he tested positive for clenbuterol. And if he believes that the guy cheated, don't take the fight. Simple as that. See, I do believe that I think that Canelo Alvarez needed to be suspended and fined heavily for testing positive for clenbuterol. I think that it works against him. Most times that whenever I hear the argument that, that's just something that happens in Mexico because certain farmers are using, pumping this stuff into the cattle. And as a result, when you eat the meat that from those cattle, you wind up testing positive for clenbuterol. If that has happened, and I actually had somebody come to my page that said, this has happened to 100. There was 100 amateurs that got kicked out of a tournament. Either they got kicked out of a tournament or they tested positive in a tournament in Mexico. And so therefore, that's proof that this stuff is in the meat. And my response to that is, yeah, that's proof that's in the meat. It also is proof that Canelo Alvarez should have known it was in the meat. Because if 100 people have been tested for it, if Luis Nery wound up having an issue with it, right? If 100 boxers ate beef in Mexico and popped dirty for clenbuterol, then you are on notice. You have notice of this. And since you have notice of it and you still continue to do it, still continue to eat the meat, then there's a degree of contributory negligence here. If not outright being guilty of the crime of trying to, of taking the performance-enhancing drug, at the very least, you're guilty of contributory negligence. Because You knew perfectly well that there was the meat in Mexico was doped. And you don't know where it was, so any of it you shouldn't be eating any of it. And I can understand from somebody that is if you are a amateur boxer or a not very highly paid boxer, lower level professional boxer, eat some chicken. Eat some chicken. I know they got some chickens down there in Mexico. Eat some chicken. Go get some lamb. Eat some pork if you ain't Muslim. Eat some pork. Don't eat the beef. And if you do and you test positive, you are negligent and you contributed to that because you just did some shit that was stupid. Why would you do it? And especially the case for somebody that has as much money and whose fights generate as much revenue as Canelo Alvarez. He should have imported his beef if he decided to eat the beef. Import your chicken, import your lamb, import your goat. There's all kind of animals that got red meat. God dog it, he got enough money to ship in some ostrich. That dude could have ate some dolphin. I mean, he could say dolphin. He could eat some swordfish. He could do whatever all kind of different meats he could eat other than the beef. So I do believe that he, based on what I see, should get a fine, if not and or suspended, right? He should get his fine and or suspended. If he's just fined because they feel like it was just, that was honestly a mistake, and the different sanctioning bodies do their investigation, and they feel like they know where the meat came from, they know when it was that he ate it, he tested 5 other people who also ate the meat at that time, that same meat at the same place, right? And they all tested positive for it, then, okay, fine him. But not off the just get away scot-free. There's got to be something to that. It might not be that he needs to be suspended for the rest of his life, that his boxing life, that he should never be able to fight again, or even necessarily that the Gennady Golovkin camp fight doesn't go through. I would suspect that would be the best thing to do, but some way, shape, or form, Canelo Alvarez deserves should be not just for Canelo Alvarez, but for other fighters who then might use that loophole and take advantage of it. There should be some type of ramification for that, for being negligent and eating meat in a place where you know that it could have been tainted and caused you to test dirty. That's the Canelo Alvarez. Now, this stuff with Gennady Golovkin, that's crocodile tears. That's crocodile tears. Because all you got to do is not take the fight. Don't get in there. Don't take the money. Other than that, I think you're just I just think that you're trying to use this as an advantage to make sure that along with the judging, that you thought that Adelaide Byrd had a bad scorecard, that they were crooked, that Oscar De La Hoya was crooked, Gennady Golovkin, the judges in Las Vegas were crooked, and that you really should have won the fight, right? I just think that you're milking it for that. If you take the fight. If you take the fight, you need to shut up. Because you're saying you don't care. Your actions can't say you don't care, and your mouth say you do care. If he gets in there and he knocks out Gennady Golovkin because he's juiced to the gills on whatever, that's what Gennady Golovkin gets. Because Gennady Golovkin decided to take the fight after he knew the guy tested positive. And this little line that he uses, if they don't suspend him, then I'll do my job. What do you mean? You work for yourself, man. What does it mean to do your own job? Gennady Golovkin, you work for yourself. You have a promoter, but that promoter can't force you to fight. Didn't you just make $3-4 million, whatever you made in the last fight? You shouldn't be broke. but you want to take the fight because you want to make the money. You have all the belts. Even in the draw, Gennady Golovkin didn't lose his belts. He still has the belts. And there's other people that'd be willing to fight him. I'm sure Jamal Charlo would be happy to fight him. I'm sure Danny Jacobs would be happy to fight him. Billy Joe Saunders would be happy to fight him. Demetrius Andrade more than likely would be happy to fight him. Fight them. Since Canelo's so dirty. And since you knew he was dirty before the first time. That's what I'm saying, man. Spare me the crocodile tears, man. And don't use it as some mechanism, feigned outrage, as a mechanism to get more favorable calls from the ref, from the judge, from the commission, whatever you think, whatever he could possibly be thinking would happen. He right now reminds me of Phil Jackson from the coach of the Chicago Bulls, or NBA coaches who, before they're about to enter into a series with a certain basketball player, will start complaining about what that basketball player does ahead of time. Very loud in the media, right? Shaq is charging. Shaquille O'Neal is charging. Do you see how he dips his shoulder down and he bumps in there? The refs need to call that. The refs need to call that. The refs need to call that. Oh, look what Steph Curry's doing coming off those screens. He's traveling. Look at Reggie Miller kick his legs out. Look at LeBron James. He's just calling out ahead of time to put it in the minds of the ref about what to look for. You already have a circumstance more than likely where the judges are going to be looking at the scorecards very closely, making sure that if there's a round, I got to make sure that I give it to Gennady Golovkin or if I feel like I've given too many rounds away, I gotta make sure I don't come out with a 118-110 scorecard. I don't care if I do believe it's 118-110. I am not about to be Adelaide Bird up in here and turning that scorecard. I'm going to be making extra certain and extra cautious to make sure that I'm not giving Canelo Alvarez any favorable treatment. Because if that's not why Gennady Golovkin is trying to cry these crocodile tears and make this big outrage, this big deal, whatever, if that's not it, then just don't take the fight. In fact, Gennady Golovkin shouldn't take the fight. If Gennady Golovkin really believes what he said, that performance-enhancing drugs is a real big deal in boxing, and that he has some proof that Canelo Alvarez has been shooting up, has track marks on his stomach, that he needs to do the right thing and call a fight off and say, hey, no matter how much money I make, I know I have the right. I could be making $10 million, $15 million here, or whatever it is, $8-10 million. But I'm going to stand on principle and I'm not going to take that money. Because if somebody tests positive, there needs to be a thorough investigation. If he's in any way responsible for it and he was just negligent in the meat, then he needs to be fined for doing that. Otherwise, you're going to create a scenario where anybody that goes to Mexico that wants to get on Combuterol can go to Mexico, eat at a few different operations, right? Spend a week in Mexico, go to 5-10 different places. Go to 5-10 different places and then say, hey, it was in the meat. But really what they were doing is they were already on it, and then they just tried to cycle off of it. And so just in case they don't cycle off of it in time, then they're going to say, well, it was the meat. And they can keep their receipts. They can say, hey, I ate this place, I ate this place, I ate that place. And it's all fine and good. When the fact of the matter is, if you know that the ostrich, that five boxers tested positive because they went to South Africa and they ate ostrich, and that their ostrich farms in there shoot them up with nandrolone, whatever it is, whatever the new designer, drug of the day is, and you eat it, even though you've received notice that was there. And that's what I'm saying. If you know it's there and you still eat it, you are the problem. Same thing goes for Gennady Golovkin. If you know he's tested positive and you still fight, you are the problem. You are as much of the problem as him, because you've decided that you are going to get in the ring with somebody that tested positive and that could have been on performance enhancing drugs. And I don't feel sorry for you. Cut the crocodile tears. And with that, I'm out. Peace.